Welcome back to
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again.
Thanks for watching D2 Wrench Works and DIY. Today's video is on a super rare, so rare in fact it's actual JDM, Japanese domestic market. This is actually imported from Japan. It's the only place it's made. Pretty cool find. Much different than a lot of the bikes we're going to find in, here in America. For some reason, North America is way different than Fuji Catalog Japan. I did tons of digging and I was lucky enough to find the actual clippings of this bike. I'll show you here from the Japan catalog, and this is, you'll see, a 2011 Fuji Stratos R. The R being the road bike version of the normal Stratos, which is a flat bar steel frame bike. This is a 4130 Cromoly steel frame bike with custom butted tubing on top of a really high-end triple butted fork with a lug crown. For something in the $600 market, this is pretty high-end stuff. Very nice tubing on the frame that can easily fit 28C tires. That's a huge bonus for something you want to have a nice steel frame for the ride quality. 28C is even going to amplify that multiple times over. And then, it's nice to, if you're commuting. This bike actually has bike rack mounts on there, so you want to turn into an everyday commuter or whatever you want to do, go pick up some groceries, put a bunch of weight on there. Really nice to have big wide tires on there. Huge bonus. There's so many features on this bike that are really such a very cool bike find. Let's get into the drivetrain. For our shifters, we have Shimano Claris, which is fairly new. 8x2 speed. They're on the frame shifter though, it can be 2 or 3 speed. It's not actually index, it's friction, so you just kind of move it to where the front derailleur needs to go. But what we are going to do, that's not a bad thing. I do really like that. But this is such a nice setup. I do think it should be a little bit more modernized. One cool thing you will find too, we have Tektro brake levers up there that mount the Tektro brakes, and these are actually the slightly longer ones that allow really wide tires. Once we get into the rebuild here, I'm going to try to fit a 32C on the rear and see if it'll actually fit, because man, that would be like super sick if you could fit a 32C on there. It's almost a gravel bike at that point for very cheap money and steel. But we'll get on to that when we get there. For our crank, this is basically, I don't know who makes this. I think it is, it's Lasco. Okay, so it's basically a Claris copy, I would say. It's identical to most Shimano chain rings that are modern, if you look at it. The chamfers inside of here. It's kind of surprising how similar it looks. I actually, when I looked, I thought I was going to see a Claris or Sora part number on there. Easy 3-piece design. You ever want to change anything on the chain rings, super easy to do. Not a big deal, pretty affordable as well. These are 8-speed chain rings, not expensive at all. Even if you hated this, you could also turn it to a single. You could do that if you wanted to put a huge cassette on the back. It also comes with a long cage rear. This is a Sora derailleur, so you can do a big, probably like up to 32th, I would imagine. The rear derailleur also matches the front. They're both Shimano 2300 Sora. The cassette looks just like what you get on most mid-range bikes, like HG50. Doesn't look too big, but it'll be all right. For the chain rings, it's 5242. If you're in a mountainous area, you would want to switch this out to a 39. 5242 is actually a really vintage chain ring size. You see them like the Biopace ones, or like I have an older Giant I did a video on you could check out. It's also a very cool steel frame. And it actually has the same chain rings. This is 2011. I think the Giant's a 94. So kind of funny how some of the things are very traditional still on this. One thing I did forget to mention though about the Tektro brakes, I'm not a big fan of the pads they come with, especially when they're not brand new. They just get hard, they don't stop well. It's not worth it. And also the pain in the butt thing is, if you're not a mechanic, it's a lot more work to replace this style brake that's a monoblock piece of rubber versus there's a brake tray that you could put in on modern brakes and slide in a pad. That is so much easier to do and deal with. It's not even worth it. It's only a few more dollars when you get new brakes. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of those and put some nice new ones on and upgrade the holders. As I mentioned, we'll do the shifters. That's a big bonus out of the ability to brake and shift and all of that, especially if you're a new person or especially if you're commuting even. It's kind of a must-have if you ask me. It does have some pretty nice wheels on it. I bet you they're quite heavy though. I did a Giant very similar to these kind of wheels, and it has a very nice aero profile, but basically these are huge hunks of aluminum and they're often quite over 2,000 grams, which is very heavy. So you could drop a lot of weight. You could probably even drop up to 2 pounds. If you change out for a high quality wheel set, that's going to be around like 1,600 grams. For example, I just did on my Airborne Titanium, I threw some Open Pro Sports on there. Those are Ultegra hubs. That's something, a good quality wheel set. Those are 1,800 grams. That's probably almost 2 pounds right there, just dropping off. So these are nice budget wheels, and they are crazy strong. I will say that. But if you want to go fast, these are going to hold you back a little bit. They don't spin up too quick, but they do have sealed hubs, and they'll do the job as a commuter, as an everyday kind of thing. And to be honest, I wouldn't, just even with the way it is, you could still take this racing on the weekends for sure if you have any interest in being an amateur racer. And what I'll do here is I will start taking it all down, put it all together, the new stuff, and we'll look at it and go over that.
This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill.
I mean, this thing just came out absolutely sick. I can't believe how happy I am with it. Without a doubt, such a fun, underrated bike build. Can't say enough times how happy I am with it. By the way, I did mention earlier in the video, will a 32C tire actually fit this bike? Boom, look at that. Fits it without a problem. Absolutely crazy. This makes this not only an awesome steel frame bike that has capabilities of being a commuter with the bike rack, all of that built into the frame, no P-clamps, no messing up your frame. It also has the ability to do gravel though, and that is crazy to do. on a just everyday average commuter bike, you know, your average budget road bike. Unfortunately not here, but at least in Japan. Let's get into the build though. First things first, speaking on the frame shifters, as you can see looking up at our cockpit, these are microshift shifters, a must-have STI budget buy if you ask me. I'll have links to all this stuff in my description as well, but excellent if you have just a bare frame, or if you're looking to do a frame shifter to STI conversion, like I've done here. They make these in 7, 8, 9, 10 speed even. These alone though, if you're gonna go on the budget bike ones like 7 or 8 speed, you can find them for under $75. Great buy to have. And they shift perfectly smooth with Shimano. Works great. Now I figured because we did such a nice job on our cockpit here, we might as well convert to a threadless stem. We took our old quill stem off, which is what this guy is here. This is still a good quality piece. It's Callaway aluminum, but if you ever wanted to make any changes, you have to take the handlebars off, take the actual bar tape all the way off, take your brake lines off, then remove the shifter, and then you could wriggle the bars out of there. Kind of a pain to deal with. So to modernize it with everything else that we've done to it, we went ahead and made a threadless stem conversion. You could get this piece up there for less than $10. Very good budget buy. A must-have if you're doing some sort of budget build. And this bike does come with a 26mm clamp. Most modern bikes come with a 31.8. Not really a big difference, but when you buy your stem, you do want to make sure this one's a 31.8. What I have on there is a 26mm generic aluminum alloy, but as with everything on this bike, you can find it cheap and everywhere. Very plentiful. Now, of course, if we're going to talk about the cockpit, we can't forget my absolute favorite part of the really kicked off the whole. I think I'm going to start doing a lot of cool things to this actually, and got where we are now, is the bar tape. I couldn't believe how nice this bar tape was. Supakaz is kind of expensive brand on Amazon, and this is a clone, I guess you would say, an imitation. It feels very nice and sticky, but doesn't feel like how lizard skin can get easily dirty. Feels very high quality, but still grippy, and it looks absolutely awesome. Of course, we got to do black and gold. When you have a matte black frame like this, you got to add all kinds of cool flair to it, right? Now, moving on from our cockpit, we are going to talk about the brakes. Of course, I mentioned the monoblock ones are no good, so we upgraded these. These are actually off of my Shimano 105, so these are genuine Shimano pads and holders, but if you want to do a cool stop or something similar, the main point is to get nice cartridge holders on there. You want to get rid of the monoblock. A big bonus too, these are Tetra 525 brakes. I didn't mention this before, but they're actually all alloy construction. Very strong for what they are. Usually you'll find lower 3 series, 300 series, something like this, on bikes that are in the budget range. So this is a really cool find. Now moving on to our drivetrain here. Gold Chain Mafia, of course. Super cheap budget buy, 6, 7, 8 speed. You can get these less than $14 actually. I paid $13.99 for it. The one thing I do have to complain about though is this Lasco chain wheel. I do not like it at all, the chain ring. It looks nice and kind of fancy. I mentioned it has some cool chamfers, looks very modern Shimano-esque, but it is severely bent. I have no idea how. All the bolts were tight. Not a good quality aluminum, I'm guessing, especially for a smaller frame. It was a smaller lady I bought this from. But with that said, we have already upgraded it. So you want to, I mean, you could really try to repair this if you wanted, but being cheap aluminum, that's what we're going to do with that. So moving on, we've upgraded. This one is actually used. It's a 52 tooth off of a Tiagra. So it's steel. It's not even some super expensive, you know, fancy thing. But the nice thing is steel will almost never bend. And if it does bend, you can bend it back and not have to worry about fatigue like with aluminum. So that's a great upgrade to have. Didn't have to do anything with our derailleurs, but if you did want to, and I highly recommend it, this is only a 12-25 tooth cassette, so you have the ability, if you wanted to go big, upgrade to this is a 8-speed Claris long cage. This also do 9 or 10 speed though. Same with this one, do 7, 8, 9, 10 speed with both of them. This is a newer Sora one, and this is a very nice rear derailleur. Little more fancy than the Claris, but both of them do an excellent job. This one's under 30, this one's under 38 or so. It's in the mid-30s. Excellent buys. Fits a very large cassette. If you want to go over 1130 tooth, it's a must-have. Like I mentioned though, we do have a long cage on here, and I didn't feel like it was necessary to change a cassette on this, so we kept all of that original. And it looks great, rides great. It's not very hilly where I am, so this is all you'll need. Almost forgot, I added some Rock Bros cages there. Those are under 20 bucks. Very, very nice, high quality aluminum. Surprised at how nice they are. No worry about plastic and fatigue or breaking or any of that. whatsoever. If you do want to get rid of your frame shifters like I did here, you will absolutely need some of these Shimano cable stops, and you see them right up here on the frame stops, they could be called as well. This is Shimano brand, and you could get them for about $15. They are also cable adjusters. You can actually screw these barrels out and adjust your cable tension. These are very good to have. And with that said, this is pretty much the whole build. This has been such such a surprisingly fun build. I mean, I always know what I'm getting into usually, and I always got a pretty good plan, but this one took me by surprise, and it was tons and tons of fun. I hope it showed when I made the video too, because I did a lot of little extra things here and there, trying to make it a little more fun for you guys too. If you like content like this, please do not forget to like and subscribe, guys. You can find me on Patreon if you want to support the channel. You could donate, and it goes right towards fun projects like this. You can also support me through YouTube memberships. If you want to check that out, I offer a couple different memberships and some cool little features as part of supporting the channel. So I really appreciate it, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Bye.